What's up guys, my name is Lex Veldhuis and welcome to another new segment of Learn with Lex. Today we're going to be looking at a turbo structure. These tournaments are going to be a little bit faster and you're going to have to make a little bit more short stack decisions, and I think a lot of you might make the mistake of playing too tight, which means that you're going to blind down in a tournament. We're going to jump straight into the action and I'm going to show you every single decision. And we're off. This is obviously going to be an easy decision. One thing I added is a clock above me so you know what the runtime of the tournament is. It gives you guys a really good indication of how long the tournament has been running, how long I have not had hands. And I think this is also very important going back to patience, so that you guys see that there's not constantly hands being played and sometimes there's just downtime for half an hour. Over here, I'm going to raise. The hand is good enough to raise in the cutoff. Wow. Reasonable board for us. One thing we have to understand is that these guys, when they're shorter stacks, they're going to play some of these hands as well. I'm just going to make a very small bet. I don't really want to check call with my hand. And immediately get raised. I have an overcard and a gut shot. I'm going to call. You have to be pretty sticky with these kind of hands, especially when you have an overcard with it. I only have to call 3 big blinds. Pot is 18 big blinds now. One thing that's important to note as well is that a lot of time when people do get a reaction from Razor on a flop, they're going to slow down on turns. So very often in this scenario, I will get to see the turn and the river, which is huge for my hand. Queen Jack, we're definitely going to be playing this hand. So now we're not going to, even though we're short, I think it's very important to not get careless here. You might think I only have 7 big blinds, who gives a shit? But what's really important to realize, I mean, now it's really clear, right? What's really important to realize here is that we have a player raising from the first position. First position always raises the strongest hands because they have the most people to go through. And then somebody is attacking that raise, which is strength, strength upon strength, which means really strong hands. So even though we would have played against this player because we had a short stack, once that other player comes in, our situation just looks too bad and we have to get out of the way. This is definitely a patience thing, and oftentimes you'll see people lose a big pot, get down to 6, 7 or 10 big blinds and then just throw away the rest. But the amount of times that you can come back from 6, 10, 12 big blinds is absolutely insane. Some of my biggest wins have come from 3, 4 big blind comebacks. We now have ace queen, we have 6 big blinds. There's no way we're going to fold this hand. There's no real raising anymore when we get down to this low. Generally, when you have 10 big blinds or less, the only option you have is fold or all in. The only difference to that rule would be being in the big blind. We're definitely still calling a lot when we're in the big blind. Here we go. Should be a great situation for us. Get called by queen 10. Bang, 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 and we're good. We make a full double up and we have 13.5 big blinds again. And this is going to happen so often. Oftentimes people, there will always be hands. Of course there are going to be tournaments where you just blind down to nothing and you have 4 or 5 big blinds or 3 big blinds left. That definitely happens, but so often you're going to get a hand at a certain point. And the nice thing is, like, at a certain point you're going to get called by the queen 10 offsuits, right? And once you get called by queen 10 offsuit, you're going to have a really good chance to just double up. We're back to 13 big blinds now. We have a really good shot. And we just have to look at this new situation. For 13 big blinds with this stack, I would definitely fold this hand. It's way too weak to go all in. Just as a side note, Queen Jack suited would be an all in. Makes a big difference. I'm going to fold this one. If I would have had, let's say, King Jack offsuit, I would have min raised and tried to steal the pot. But with Queen Jack offsuit, we're going to just fold here. It's very important that you adjust to new situations. Don't get carried away. When you have a small stack, adjust to the new small stack. King Queen suited, definitely good enough to go all in with. So we're gonna go all in. One of the questions I get on my stream the most is about going all in when you're short stack, when tournaments are fast. I need to win a flip here. Oh, in style. Back to 30 big blinds. One hand, we were heavily favored. Now we win a flip. Boom, we're back. Blinds are up. And even after the blinds are up, we have 21 big blinds. Looking really good. We're in the middle of the pack. So patience, patience, patience. Of course, you know, you can say patience, patience, patience. You have to win your flips. That's true. But at least we got ourselves in a good spot. All right, so we're down to 14 big blinds. Blinds have gone up a little bit again. Of course, it's a hot tournament. It means the blinds are fast. This hand 100% qualifies as an all-in. If we get called by ace-king, we'll have 41, 42% chance to win. Against ace-king, think about that. That's almost a coin flip. Against a hand like pocket eights, we're 100% flipping. So this hand has really good qualities. It's an excellent all-in situation. And don't play your hands too passive, especially in turbos. You need to get what's in there. Look at that. We almost win 3 big blinds on a 13 big blind stack. Now, somebody that's insanely good at math, calculate the percentage there and know that it's a lot. And oftentimes people will send me questions and they say, I always blind down in turbos, or I make the money and then I always get into like the 30th, 40th position and I never make it to the end. What do I do wrong? And 99% of the time, my immediate estimation is that people don't go all in enough. You need this in the middle. You need those 3 big blinds that you can win by going all in. That's how you survive. And then your good hands need to pay off, of course. But if you can go all in with hands that have good value, that do really well against strong hands like ace, king, ace, queen, then you should be golden. For instance, had I had an ace and a deuce, but offsuited there, I would not have gone all in, because then when I got called, I'm usually crushed. Ace deuce just doesn't perform as well against ace king or ace 8 even as jack 10 does. Alright, now with kings, from early position, I get asked about like what's the minimum I go all in with. 16 big blinds early position, you already have close to no hands that you just go all in with. If I were to pick hands, it would be like sevens, ace jack, some ace queen offsuit maybe, but kings is definitely a raise. We don't really want to waste our hands. Oh, nice, we get some action. This person is going to come along. Obviously, we're not slow rolling. The first thing you want to do when you see somebody shove on you is like, what does the person behind me have, right? Let's say this person has 18 big blinds. You don't want to scare them off by instantly calling. So you think a little bit so that they come along. Obviously, they only have 4 big blinds. They are going to come along anyway. Motherfucker. And that's just going to happen sometimes. We put ourselves in a great spot there, and if we win that hand, we have a really big stack and we're in contention. What's really important to note is that winning those 3 big blinds with jack 10 is a compound effect, right? Had I doubled up there, that 3 big blinds is now 6 big blinds. In my next double up, that 6 big blinds is 12 big blinds, right? So that's a 12 big blind bonus on future all-ins just because I played it right as a short stack. And people often forget that as well. Had I blinded down from the jack 10 to 9 big blinds, now all of a sudden my double up with the kings isn't as large. Alright, so I just registered a new tournament here where we just lost with the kings. This is not a turbo, but this is definitely already very deep. You see we get in with 12 big blinds, so I want to continue the concept about short stacking and go all in with smaller stacks and how we survive and navigate that. So I don't think at this moment it really matters that it's not a turbo. Sorry, I'm typing the title of the name. There you go. Bang. So this is a $3 tournament again. And let's just continue the same strategy. We're going to get the hands all in that we need to. 11 big blinds. Definitely want to go all in here with ace-5 offsuit. But not if it's opened, of course. This hand really banks on folds. We can win 2.5 big blinds in the middle. 20% of our stack. So we're going to go all in here. Instantly get called. But hey, this can definitely be a hand like king-queen. Obviously, a better ace would suck. Still have 27% though. That's fine, and make it straight. That's just gonna happen sometimes. And again, this showcases why it's really important to have a good bankroll when you play tournaments, because you can just register this tournament, get it all in, and it doesn't work out. So now I'm gonna talk a little bit about a trick that I often do that I think is very good. When you go all in for 2.6 big blinds, everyone on the table will see that you're all in. However, when you min raise, people will sometimes look at it as a raise, and people will just fold. This is a trick that has got me to win the blinds even when on a stack like this. So I think it's very important to realize. All right, that's fine. We're just gonna re-enter this one. We can't. That's fine. All right, so again, we register a new tournament. We're gonna register a 50-cent sit and go turbo now. I think it's good. Maybe we should just stick to those. Well, we can always use it as filling. Obviously, these segments are pretty new for me, but I think that the turbo one will have a lot of different tables cycling through, just because we're going to be short stack so often, and obviously that's going to create volatility in the action and in our play. Right, with pocket sevens. Obviously, this is a fast tournament. We're not at the spot where people are just openly going all in, or open shoving, as we say. Open shoving means going all in when it's your turn. Definitely keen to play this hand. Raising is not an option, folding is not an option, so then calling is our only option. I really wonder in this segment what's going to happen with all the turbos, because I feel like in this slot, the turbo slot of the turbo tournaments that I'm playing, I'm going to have like per video like 4 or 5 tournaments up. Maybe this will make you guys think to never play turbos, but we'll see. Pretty much done with the hand. Just gonna check. No real qualities. Oh, there we go. This is really nice. Obviously, this is the best card. It's not even a 7 of hearts. Checked through. I definitely think we should be making lots of action. We always talk about that you can bet small multi-way, but we're already on the turn now, and at this point we want to try and get our 30 big blinds in. We could also pressure with some bluffs, like maybe a hand with a 10 or an 8 in it. Maybe a hand like Queen Jack. So we're gonna raise. Our opponent does go all in. Easy call. They have 5s. They only win with an 8. And this again shows something that we see a lot during this series, that even if you play your strong hands a little bit faster, that really doesn't mean that you're not going to get paid off. And you guys ask me so often, oh, it's so hard to play against people that don't know what they're doing, or people that just play any 2 cards, and it would be easier to play higher stakes. Trust me. This person might hit an 8 once for a straight, and that's going to be very sick, and you're going to be sad about that, but it doesn't mean it's harder to play. You know, random stuff happens, but if we play this hand 100 times, obviously I'm going to win a lot of money. Alright, so we definitely want to play the 7-5 suited. We only have to pay 25 for a pot of 170. So great odds. This is a very small raise. Again, we're going to have great odds to call along, unless this person makes it something crazy. Now we have to call 100 for 400. What's really nice with our hand is that it's very unlikely that we're dominated. What that means is that it's very unlikely that somebody has a better 7 or a better 5. Because these indicate usually more Broadway hands, meaning cards like Jack 10 or Ace Queen or stuff like that. Now obviously that's a pretty good board for those hands, but the fact that both our pairs are going to be relatively clean is really good for us. Obviously, we have straight draws, flush draws that we can get as well, so it's a very good bargain for us to go to a flop there. Alright, so we have Ace-Jack here. Now, Ace-Jack is definitely a hand we want to pick to play. One reason why I'm going to raise with this hand, and as usual, guys, when we re-raise or 3-bet, we're going to make it 3 times the size of somebody before me. The reason why I raise here and I don't flat call is because if I flat call, I open up the door for action behind me, and I don't want that with this hand. So I'm going to raise to take control of the hand and turn it into a little bit of a bluff. A bluff with possibilities. Because the nice thing about it is that I block aces, ace-king, and ace-queen, because I have an ace in my hand. So the chance that they have aces, ace-king, or ace-queen is less big. And of course pocket jacks as well. Very, very nervous about somebody behind me calling all that aggression. There's a raise, there's a re-raise, so just think like, oh, I can call along. This usually indicates a very strong hand, and generally is a hand like 9s, 10s, or jacks that are a little bit nervous to put all the money in. So we're just going to slow it down. Alright, so we're just going to check it down. Ace-Jack could very well be good. I'm still pretty nervous about these hands. Queen-Jack, and we just win. This is great. So we took it to showdown. And that's a nice little gift. Alright, so we're in position. Even though this person is short, they could also try a very cheap way of stealing. We only have to pay 1.2 big blinds, 4 big blinds in the middle. We're going to call. We get the best flop we could possibly get. And now we're going to try and extract the most money. Absolutely no reason to raise. Sometimes if the turn is a heart and people are thinking, oh, if I would have raised the flop, they're not going to fold a flush draw. So raising has no effect on their draws. We're just going to check this back. Obviously, an ace should not be good for us, because the pre-flop raiser is going to have the favor of the aces, because if we had an ace, we would have probably gone all in before the flop, because we're only 12 big blinds deep. It's very important that you remember that kind of stuff would happen before the flop. Obviously, we're going to go for value now. and we get called by a king. I can't drive that point home enough. It's very important that you realize that. At this stage, I mean, obviously we are not bluffing, right? But like, if we go all in here, I think it actually looks relatively strong. They're not going to give us an ace much, but it's a horrible card for us to bluff. Because think about, you have to think about through the hand, right? So this person has 12 big blinds, and if we have any ace here, any ace, we're going to go all in. So once it rolls off on the turn, you have to realize, because the start of the hand, you did something that makes you not being able to have an ace. So let's say I have 4 or 5 of hearts here. I'm not going to go all in on the ace because any king should call me, because I don't have aces. I just don't have an ace in my arsenal. So it's really important to realize how pre-flop action dictates what the groups of hands are that we're playing. And this is often a mistake that people make when they're trying to construct a bluff. On the river, they're like, oh, but I could have king queen. No, you can't, because you didn't do this, this, or this pre-flop. So it's very important to make sure that you start with groups of hands and think about them, and this will come easier with time. Think about them before the flop, and then slim them down once you go to the river and make a decision based on the groups of hands that you can have. What's really good about checking the ace here on the turn is the fact that because we know that we can't have an ace, and they suspect that we can't have an ace, we don't want to bet, right? We want to give them the chance to just fire it off. So if they were, let's say they have a hand like 10-9 or something, there's a big chance that they would have just go all in on the river anyway. They feel secure because I didn't raise the flop, I didn't bet the ace on the turn, I can't have any aces because I didn't go all in pre-flop, so now they get to just bluff away. Obviously when they check, now we're going to go for some value, and completely understand this call. I would 100% make this call as well. Having the 9 of hearts is nice because it makes a chance that your opponent has a heart flush less. So yeah, just unlucky flop for them really. Over here, I'm going to call. I have to call the minimum. I think that a lot of people aren't really used to defending these kind of hands, but for the minimum, especially when somebody raises from late position, we really have to call along with these hands. They can make great top pairs and are going to land us in some favorable spots. And one thing that's really important to remember is the fact that the shorter you are, the easier it is to defend those hands, because you're not going to make a huge mistake. When you have 10 big blinds, you flop a king, you lose the king-queen sometimes. It's not like you're going to make 150 big blind punt versus an insanely strong range, right? So very important to remember. I know I had 4s and I wanted to do something, but I had 2 other hands and I timed out because this is a turbo and I'm talking a lot and I don't have a time bank. For whatever it's worth, I would have gone all in, so I could definitely be tempted to go all in here, but I would really like for my opponent to have min raised or 2.05 big blinds or something like that. 2.5 big blinds is a little bit scary, so I'm just gonna throw my hand away. Again, it's a concept we talked about a lot. We really want to keep in mind what the raise sizes are. Don't get greedy. Just because we're down at 14 big blinds, the worst thing you can do is start raising bad hands or going all in with hands that don't deserve it. King Deuce is a terrible hand. It's not something we want to play. We're just going to throw it away. We'd really need to be down to like 5 or 6 big blinds before we go all in with that hand on the button and try and steal the blinds. Over here, we have ace-king suited. We're going to raise. We don't always have to shove with 14 big blinds. We still have a lot of raises. We could also raise a hand like ace-5 offsuit here, for instance, or king-10 offsuit to try and steal the blinds. And if we want to put some strong hands in there, ace-king suited, of course, plays really well. And it also invites some people to maybe go all in with a hand like ace-9 offsuit. And if I shove or go all in with ace-king, then people are going to fold those ace-9, ace-8, ace-7 offsuits. So I kind of lose them. This is obviously a very, very bad board. Not really want to give up just yet. That's a really terrible card. Completes a lot of the bluffs they could be having. And they definitely should have bluffed that card. Why I also say why they definitely should have bluffed is because if I have spades, I'm most likely betting the flop. So the fact that I check means that I don't really have flushes. They have a lot of flushes. So they really should have been betting there. Over here, we're going to raise queen-jack offsuit. We have 14 big blinds. This is an example of a hand that we want to steal with. We don't want to go all in. If somebody goes all in, we'll fold. But we block some really strong hands, right? We block queens, jacks, ace-queen, ace-jack, king-queen. So we can definitely go ahead with a raise. We're going to take it a little bit slow here. Definitely not saying that we're not going to go for this hand, but We do raise off a short stack, and we could be coming across quite strong. Sometimes it's really good. I block potential straight draws that people have, meaning that if they have ace-10 or 10-9, I have a queen. So I block some of the outs that they have. Now it's really nice because now we are so free to value bet. Our hand looks relatively weak because we checked twice, so there's a bigger chance that we're going to get paid off. And they have the same hand. Wow, they had the flush draw as well. Over here, we found our hand to make it 4 big blinds, but they do it off a short stack. There's a short stack limping. They could just want to be committing against them. Ace-Jack, really strong. We have 1 big blind dead in there. Dead money is worth gold. They do have a strong hand this time, but we still have 30% chance, and that's not it. They could also be committing themselves with a hand like ace-10, ace-9 suited, ace-8 suited, all kinds of hands, really. So ace-Jack, whenever stacks get that small, very strong hand. You know, there's some dead money in there, which just makes our odds even better. So just decide to go for that hand. And of course, we have 2 big blinds left, and we're going to go for it. So short stacking not on our side today, but I think we got our hand in good most of the time. Obviously, we had some unfortunate spots earlier as well. Look at that. The boy who lived. And it's actually crazy to think, like, I have 5 big blinds of what you can do with it. Obviously, very lucky to get 8s the next hand. We can just close our eyes. I don't care if both of these players go all in. 8s is an insanely strong hand. The shorter you get, the more powerful it is, of course. So we're going to go over and open. We're super happy with this. We hope we get called. This is going to be a high fives around the table kind of thing. Generally for us. Shouldn't really be much of a decision. Oh, that's pretty unlucky. So we were the favorites, but our opponent gets there. But look at that. Otherwise, we would have had 12.5 big blinds again. We would have been right in contention. And as you see, we have 70% chance. So 7 out of 10 times we're going to win this hand pre-flop. It just happens to be this way. And again, I want to drive home the point about why it's so important to have bankroll management, because it's very normal that this happens. You see me bust out a few tournaments. In most of the hands I'm favorite. I still bust out, and that's why it's important to have 100, 200 buy-ins of a certain buy-in level. It really isn't about the money when you start playing poker. It's about learning, it's about appreciating the game, and it's about, you know, just making sure you stay in action. Because if you lose all your money, you don't want to start depositing and all that shit. You just want to learn, and you can do it in free rolls as well, or the lowest stakes that you can find. I really hope that you guys enjoyed that video. Please like, subscribe. Also, please leave a comment if you like something, if you don't like something, if there's anything particular you want to see or you want to see more of, because I read every single comment and I can't wait to see your guys' feedback. Obviously, I just started my YouTube journey, so it's good for me to learn. I think what we learned today is very important. We have, it's a lot about patience. It's a lot about taking your spots as well. It's kind of funny how those two counteract each other, right? Sometimes you need to be really patient and sometimes you just have to go for it. And I really hope that through these turbo editions of Learn with Lex, I can show you the difference, what to do when. Thank you for watching and see you next time.